test first. How many of you are college students? How many of the college students want to be future leaders? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I think we have more leaders than students. It's very good. It's very good. I conducted the same test about 5 or 6 years ago, and there were more than 100 students sitting in front of me, and very few hands went up when I asked the question whether they were going to be leaders or not. So times have changed, and that's good. Today I'd like to talk about education, college education in Taiwan. We have several fundamental problems in Taiwan. First one, there is a mismatch of expectations. In 1990, about 20 years ago, there were only 600,000 college students at that time. 600,000 young men and women that were college students at that time. Now they're about 1.3 billion, more than double the number of 20 years ago. 20 years ago, the parents all thought that a college education for their children was a permanent meal ticket. Anybody that graduated from college would have a good job and would have a good life. And therefore they try very hard to send their kids to college. Now, with almost double the number of college students and therefore graduates in the future. And keep in mind, this is the eligible age group actually has decreased because of the decreasing birth rate in Taiwan. So 600,000 students in 1990 represented a smaller percentage of the eligible group than the 1.3 million. So more people are going to college now, and college education is no longer a permanent meal ticket. So that's the first problem. And young people getting out of college couldn't get a job, they're getting disillusioned. The second problem we have is that we have a mismatch of skills. There are many jobs waiting, but there are fewer applicants that really have these skills. In the last 20 years, I think Taiwan has very much neglected trade education, trade training, trade schools. All right, and the third problem we have, we really don't have good colleges to develop future leaders. Taida is perhaps the best university we have in Taiwan. Some people will argue with that, but let's assume that Taida. But I think that Taida is still not a very good school in developing leaders. Now I want to concentrate on that point, the point of a good school to develop leaders. I think it's a liberal arts college. I think a good school to develop leaders is a liberal arts college. And my role model for that kind of education would be the Oxford and Cambridge in the 19th century in England, and the Ivy League colleges, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, in the 20th century. In the 21st century, I think most of the good schools in the United States, the ones I mentioned, will continue to be good role models. And all of them are what I would consider liberal arts colleges, the undergraduate part anyway, liberal arts colleges. Now, what does a liberal arts college do? I don't think I can say it better than a report from the Dean of Harvard College in 2006. He said, "We recommit ourselves to liberal education. Liberal education presumes a broad education that liberates the individual in several ways. By offering opportunities for foundational knowledge, reflection, and analysis, artistic creativity, and an appreciation for the precision of scientific concepts and experiments. It resists pressures for early specialization and professionalization." I think that's an important point. A liberal education resists pressure for early specialization and professionalization. Professional education is in the proud tradition of many universities. What you have in Taida is a professional education. It's in the tradition of many universities. And let me just continue on. But it is not the mission of Harvard College. Our students will devote some significant part of their time to special and concentrated thinking, learning. But we aspire above all that they graduate as curious, reflective, and independent thinkers with a commitment to serve the wider world and a lifetime of learning still before them. That is what we mean when we welcome our graduates to the fellowship of educated women and men. I really think that's a soaring statement for liberal arts college, liberal education. What in my mind should a liberal arts college do in developing future leaders? First of all, admission. Here I'm speaking from my personal experience. I had just spent 1 year at Harvard undergraduate. And I have said many times since then that that was perhaps the most meaningful year I had in all my life. And why did I think so? I learned just as much from fellow students as I did from the classroom. So fellow students are very important, a very important part of the education at the liberal arts college. Therefore, I think the admission standards should not be just academic excellence. Admission standards, in fact, should weigh more leadership traits and the kind of characteristics that Professor Green just mentioned, ability to communicate with people, with other people, to work with other people, and those things. And creativity, entrepreneurship, those characteristics. Now, I think that's it has to be a very difficult job to set admission standards across this wide spectrum of requirements. But I think it can be done, I think that colleges like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, they do it. And now, once you have that kind of admission standards, then the students, when they come in, will find that they will learn more from their fellow students than even from the classroom. Now also, I think that the student body should be diversified. Foreign students, students from all kinds of families. I think that's very important too. I think that naturally, I think the faculty and the college administrators must share the same philosophy that this is a liberal arts college, this is a place where they intend to develop future leaders of society. And now I go on to dormitories. I think it should be a requirement for undergraduates to live in dormitories. You need to, I think the undergraduates have to spend all the time in school. Now, I think the dormitories should certainly not just be a place to sleep in. Dormitories should be a place to live, for the students to live, to study, to socialize, and not just a place to live in. So I think as our universities spend what money they get on research equipment and so on, I said, why don't you spend some on improving your dormitories? And now, student activities, they should definitely include, besides studying, they should definitely include things like team sports, the art of speaking, debating, and cultural activities as well. Those are, the undergraduate 4 years are very valuable, golden 4 years. And let's use them to stimulate the students' minds to, just as the statement I read, create educated men and women, create their independent thinking ability, their lifetime learning, lifelong learning habit, curiosity, their reflective ability, etc. Thank you.